welcome back to the Faith and Formation Podcast. It is Thursday morning, October 9th. Thanks for joining in and jumping in here. Unfortunately, Brother Sam is not with us here this morning. He's off on vacation, so pray for him as you will, as you do pray this morning, and for all the rest of the people that are traveling that we know of. Thanksgiving's coming up, and so I'm sure a lot of people will be traveling for that, going to see family. And then once we head into the holiday season, everybody goes everywhere, so let's keep those people in prayer and traveling mercies. All right, devotional for today is called A Determined Servant. A Determined Servant. If you had the devotional, we'll be in 2 Samuel chapter 5. 2 Samuel chapter 15. 2 Samuel chapter 15, A Determined Servant. And before we hit that, though, let's look at our memory verse for today, or for this week. It says, "Their righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people." This is found here in Proverbs 14 and verse 34. Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. That's our memory verse for the week. And so when you can, commit that to memory. Hopefully that can be a help to you as you go about your tasks this week. All right, 2 Samuel chapter 15. Our text verse, our topic verse here for this morning is verse 21. It says there, "As the Lord liveth, and as my lord the king liveth, surely in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in life, in death, or life, even there also will thy servant be." This here is talking about a man who was a servant to King David. And during a very, very tumultuous time in Jewish history, of the many tumultuous times that the Jewish history had, this is definitely right in the middle of one of them, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as we go through the devotionals for this week. But David's throne is being challenged by his son, and just turmoil is going on, a lot of crazy things. And in the middle of all this, we find a little servant, not someone that the Bible talks about a lot, but a servant here just who decides that in the middle of all, he's going to be determined. He's going to do what he believes is right, and whatever it is that King David wanted him to do. There's a quote by Vince Lombardi. Many of you will recognize that name. He said, "The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack in will." That's a little quote there from Vince Lombardi. Very interesting and very, very true. So here in 2 Samuel 15, we find a man, in spite of terrible circumstances, decided that he was going to do the right thing. The whole story follows with a very deceitful Absalom, who is stealing the hearts of the people away. He's trying to take over some of the jobs that his father, the king, should be doing, had been doing. He's very persuasive. He's very charismatic. And he's able to win many of the hearts of the people over to his side. And he does this for years, for many, many years. And now he's going to hatch this plan to take over the kingdom. And so again, very, very tumultuous time. And through all of this, there's a servant named, I believe it's Ittai, I think is how you say that. He comes to David and he tells him that he's going to follow him. David says to this servant, "Hey, go back to the city. You don't belong following me. It's going to be dangerous. I don't want you to get hurt or be away from family or whatever it is." And Ittai, the servant, says, No, no, no. "As the Lord liveth, and as you live, I will go where you go, where you want me to go." He's this very determined servant. And I got to say that, if I was in King David's shoes, if I was him, I would covet these type of people, to be able to trust somebody. As you go through David's life as king, oh man, it's just full of deceit, left and right, all these different people, very deceitful. Even through this plot of Absalom going against his father, very deceitful in that. And then as you read through the chapters following, you see that through all of this are a lot of people that were supporters of David, are supporters of David, that turned back on him. And it just had to be very discouraging for a king of that time not to even know who he can trust. And so here we have a servant, Ittai, that says, "You know what? As the Lord liveth, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to do what you need me to do." David knew it was going to be dangerous, but his servant tells him that, hey, there's nothing that can keep me um, away from you. There's nothing that's going to make me leave the king. This is the type of determination that we ought to have in our lives. In crazy times or not, we should follow God that closely, to be determined. Like the servant, to say, hey, you know what? As the Lord liveth, I'm going to follow you. What an amazing thing. Determination. It's hard to come by these days. People are easily swayed by the things that they see, whatever they feel like doing at the moment. But to have someone who's determined and faithful, to stick with it like this servant, even when times are tough, even when there's encouragement by others to just go back and to not be a part of what's going on there, he says, I'm going to have some determination. And we ought to do the same thing. We ought to determine ourselves that, hey, no matter what, I'm going to follow the Lord. And so this morning, as you go into your devotions, as you read the chapter, as you pray, determine you're going to stick with God no matter what. Tough times are on their way. They are for every one of us. The Bible says that the rain falleth on the just and the unjust. Good things and bad things happen to everyone. And so we have to decide now that I'm going to stick with God. I'm going to be determined, like the servant, to follow him at any cost. That's our devotional here for this morning. And as you go to prayer, ask God to help you with that. I'm going to ask God to help me with that. That would stay determined even in tough times. All right, well, as you go to prayer today, spend a little extra time praying for your family. That's the topic we have for prayer this morning. Pray for your family members, siblings, parents, children, whatever your relationship is. Pray for your family, extended family even, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, whatever it is. Pray a little extra time for your family. Bring them up before the Lord. And then for our teenagers, we want to especially lift up Abigail, who we jokingly call Abigail number 4, Danya. We want to make sure that we lift her up in prayer, and just especially here this morning. All right, well, thanks you again for joining us here in the Faith and Formation Podcast. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.